royalty in disguise. Put your fist up in the skies. Royalty in disguise.
Greetings, I am Cancer the Oracle, and I'm so excited to bring to you the full pink moon energy update. Oh my goodness, talk about profound. I hope that you all are doing well wherever you are. And if you're not, this message will absolutely touch your heart and inspire you. This is what I do. I love to be in service to others. After all, my soul planet, my Atmakaraka, is Saturn. So this incarnation was based on my past lives. I was very wealthy and privileged, and I didn't really go through some things to learn lessons that will lead to wisdom. So in this life, that soul planet is teaching me how to be in service to others and enjoy it. So I am Cancer the Oracle once again. I am here in service to you. We are creating the new earth, writing new verses, scripting our life, which is a cipher, to live the song our soul came to sing. Pink full moon. First, let me start off by saying this. In 2018, I had full moon dreams. They were pink 3 consecutive years in a row. And at that time, I was a Christian. And then the next year, I was a Hebrew Israelite. And then the next year, I really had no fucking clue what it was going on with me, right? I've been going through this process of self-realization and ego deaths and just sharing that journey with whoever comes across my little corner here on earth. And I remember thinking back here recently, that dream came back to me. In a dream, I remembered having a dream. And so I told Ernest, I was like, you remember I kept seeing these pink planets? I wasn't sure what type of celestial body it was, but do you remember that? He was like, yeah. He was like, that was the time when we really started to delve deeper into our spiritual journey to discover our authentic self. I was like, yes. So this pink full moon, you are going to be experiencing a cord cutting from situations, beliefs, circumstances, habits, anything that is diminishing your ability to love yourself. It's being put under a magnifying glass. And you will see yourself in the present moment doing things that are not helping you, that are not sustaining the new you that you are cultivating to get the new me to stay right here in the present moment, which is where all of the magic is, right here in the present moment. And as I was processing this energy update and feeling into the ethers, I was overwhelmed by how much we sometimes beat up on ourselves. And a lot of us have internalized this self-hatred that the 3D matrix social constructs continually plant seeds in our subconscious mind to not like something about ourselves. And when we're living in a post-pandemic world, so many of us have lost people that we love to this pandemic, and a lot of us have lost people to what was supposed to be the remedy for the pandemic. We have experienced being sick, and maybe some of us have never been sick a day in our life. Some of us have lost jobs, got laid off. Some of us have had to move out. Some got divorced and separated. So there is so many levels of transformation taking place, and sometimes it can begin to feel like everything is coming for you. Everything is just trying you. And you're like, why is life trying me? maybe you're in this space where life is pretty great, pretty good, and you got a consistent routine, and you're finally making headway on some of the things that you want to accomplish. But maybe deep down inside, you can feel that you are diminishing your own light, that you are holding back from sharing your truth and your voice, that you are afraid to open up to something new. Maybe you are comfortable, but it's something else that's missing that you want to step in the direction of, but it's so unknown and unpredictable, so you're not sure of the success that will come from making certain decisions. Now, I have Mercury in Libra, so I get lost in my head, and I'm balancing the scales. When I tell you that my energy has been really, really downloaded into me, I'm balancing the scales on everything. I mean everything, y'all. And I'm so grateful for my intuition, because sometimes I have to lean into how I feel intuitively to pull myself out of my head and drop down in my heart, because I know it's unhealthy for me to do that. Maybe you are feeling some of these things as well. Maybe you are in relationships with people and it doesn't seem balanced. Maybe it seems like you give more than you receive. This moon, this pink full moon in Libra, is bringing it to our attention so that we can reestablish healthy relationships by creating boundaries, protecting our beliefs, our needs, learning how to detach from others' negative perceptions of us so that we're less triggered, so that we're not reacting like a nuclear reactor. I talk about this in a lot of the teachings and the courses. I talk about being a reactor versus being a creator. The exact same letters, just arranged in a different way. Which one are you choosing? This is the scale that is in front of us. And as the 3D constructs continue to crash externally, the internal systems we have been operating in are also being destroyed. But I'm here to tell you that destruction is not to break you down until you cannot get back up. The destruction is simply a purification of what no longer serves you, of the things that are keeping you in bondage that you are ready to release. The funny thing about comfortable illusions is that even though they're comfortable, we know it's time for a change. And that's when the fear kicks in and the thoughts, and your mind is like, you probably shouldn't do this. You probably should just stay comfortable where you are. Just keep working this job that you hate. Keep doing this thing that you don't feel like is in alignment with you anymore, because this is what people expect for you to do. They expect this of you. You can't let people down. If you stop giving people money every time they ask, they're going to be pissed off with you, and might be a smear campaign after that, and you don't want to deal with the trauma. And so sometimes we sacrifice our future that is being offered to us because we're trying to hold on to the illusion that is actually become an invisible prison. You can't see it. No one else probably can't see it, but you can feel it. And you know that you are playing small. You know that you are not stepping out on faith. You know. But the pull of the illusion, the pull of comfort zones is so strong right now. And your ability to choose which scale you're going to invest into will shape the future of the rest of your life. All right. Now, I want to give you some of the Akashic downloads. This is the collective consciousness information that I received to help us to break free from some of the trauma simulations that we are reliving. Because if your mind is reacting and reliving trauma, you're not responding differently. You're stuck in a holographic loop, right? And at some point, you keep seeing this black cat walk past the door. At some point, you're going to stop and say, you know what, wait a minute. This is a loop. I'm in a loop, and I don't want to be in the loop. So let me go and hook up with Morpheus, my wise mind, right? Teachers who align with something that I know is useful. Let me go and find my Trinity. I'm going to work with the triple goddesses. If you more on the spiritual, mystical, which is, that's my stilo. Yeah, I know that's my shit right there. That's what I love. I love personal development. But if I can find a creative way to do it, even better, right? Maybe you're ready to be Neo. All right. So some of the things that keep us stuck, I'm going to go over these things with you. And these are thoughts that I have been writing down as I am creating this guidebook that I'm putting together for us to navigate this new world. One thing that you want to invest less of your energy into is justification. Justification, when we feel like we're being accused of something. And this could be by someone or even by your own inner critical thoughts. It is a prison cell with a loop of the most painful thoughts, blasting loud, negative, critical perceptions until the birth of that thought becomes energy in motion, and that energy in motion leads to behavior that is not serving you. Thoughts kind of seed our emotions. But one way that you can catch yourself is, okay, I'm thinking this, and this thought has triggered me to feel this emotion. But I can pause for a moment and take a breath and ask myself, is this something that I want to invest my energy into by reacting in this way? Right? So before you react, pause. Before I allow this emotion, this vibration that wants to emit and transmit and conduct through my body, is this going to be of service to me? Is this going to cause more harm? Is this going to cause someone else harm? And is that something that I will feel great about later? Those questions right there help you to unplug. All right? In the 3D matrix, with the visual of being plugged into the base of our skull, this is the amygdala center. And this is where the trauma response is fear, flight. You know, there are many different modalities of the brain because the frontal cortex does play a role as well. A lot of us drinking fluoride water and things like that, our frontal cortex may not be developed as much as it was supposed to be. I'm finding that to be true for so many of us, that we are high functioning autistic and don't know. That's another story for another time. And I am absolutely working on putting all of this information together to help you discover what may be happening with you. Okay? Let me digress back to my point. So if you are in fear, every single emotion that becomes a behavior that's not in service to us is rooted in fear. And I know that that is a black and white blanket statement, but I stand behind it. All right, I'm standing behind it as of now anyway, because I'm going through my own evolution. It might change one day, but right now I'm standing behind that, because if you're accused of doing something you didn't do, and you take it so personally that you react in a way where you end up saying some really hurtful things to somebody that you really didn't mean it, well, you probably had a subconscious program of being wrong. Being accused means being punished. And being punished means being hurt and abused. This is triggering that for me. This is an emotion that wasn't processed with compassion. And because I don't even know that I have this going on in my subconscious programming, I'm just going to go in react mode. And I'm going to go in attack mode. And whoever might be on the other end of this, I can't even see you. All I see is red. I'm being attacked. I'm being blamed. And this shit is personal. Right? That could be a profound moment of evolution by you just doing one thing, and that's taking a pause, taking a breath. And I'm going to be honest. This happened to me recently with our 8-year-old. And she said, "Mom, you lied to me." You know, she's like, "You lied to me. Why would you do that?" And I was so triggered, because I've been working on this guidebook, and everything that I am creating is coming from this space of turning our pain into purpose, our shadows into our super spiritual powers, right? Our trauma into our treasure. And so I paused, because if I don't take my own advice, I'm not being authentic and I'm not being genuine. And that's not the energy that I want to be attached to who I am. Instead of saying something hurtful, I asked her, "Well, what about this made you feel like it was a lie?" And it opened up a beautiful conversation, and I actually learned something from my 8-year-old. I don't have to be right, nor does she have to be wrong. What is required in that moment from somebody who is awakening and allowing their wise mind to take over, and not the reptilian brain, that's always in survival mode. It opened up a dialogue that led to healing. And I was able to see how much I desired to be right at the expense of even hurting people that I'm not intending to hurt. Because being called a liar for a very long time meant going to hell for me. I was very religious minded. Being called a liar for a while meant possibly going to jail. Being called a liar possibly meant getting an F and failing, because somebody accused me of cheating, but I wasn't. And the teacher failed me because she believed this particular student was telling the truth. All of these things, your mind is a quantum computer. And with these activations we're receiving, our mind is running even faster. As time speeds up, the mind speeds up. And this is why meditation and breath work, mantras and affirmations, and just spending time journaling it by yourself is so imperative, because it prevents us from hurting each other in ways where it's just not necessary. And I recall myself saying, you know what? I would rather hear you out than to shut down your voice so that I can be right, because that's what happened to me as a kid, and that hurted me so much. And Mama is still healing some of those things. And the reason I got so upset was because I was called a liar a lot in the past. And it still kind of hurts me. And I'm a very sensitive person. And she said, so am I. And I said, yes, you are. And sensitive people are very important to the spiritual journey here right now on the planet. And I was like, that's okay. And we're going to learn how to communicate, embrace each other, and manage our emotions in a healthy way. I love you. And thank you for expressing to me how you felt. Because most of my life, I was afraid to express how I felt. And I damn sure, I ain't tell her this, but I'm telling y'all, I damn sure wasn't finna be telling no grown person that they lied to me. That was a no-no. You might get hit in the mouth. You know, like we ain't try that. And I realized that the way I have been approaching parenting has been much more conscious than what I received growing up. So that was the profound moment that happened just by me taking my own advice. So take your own advice. Okay? You don't have to take mine. Take your own advice. But if you take mine, it's beautiful too because it's effective. Now, when we justify hurtful behavior, so let's say you did something and somebody was hurt by it, because again, this full moon is all about relationships, right? So if you justify it, that's your first instinctual thing to do, and for most of us it is, you're canceling out what they're saying. So you're diminishing their expression. It's not about whether it's right or not. You're just basically diminishing their right to express how they feel and how they perceive it. You're defending the limitation that you've been saying you don't want anymore. Well, now you're protecting and defending it. Because in this moment, maybe not allowing other people to express how they feel without trying to manage it to fit in a cute little box of what's acceptable to you, that's a limitation. Because nothing in life, nowhere in life, and anything that you desire to achieve can be achieved if you defend your limitations. If you hold on to your illusions and coping mechanisms that are not serving you. And what happens is the person on the other end of this, they become triggered, right? And so now it's just like dousing fuel on the fire, especially depending on who you're dealing with and how self-aware they are. And this is something that is a terror story. The territory of justifications is a terror story. And, you know, sometimes we want to be heard. However, are you allowing other people to be heard? Or are you only willing to hear them if you agree with what they're saying? That type of energy is not serving us. Practice listening and hearing people out. Even if you are triggered, even if you feel like it's personal, and it might be. But just pause. Take some belly breaths and just hear it out. And when they're done, you could always say, you know, you are entitled to have your own perception of this. And I would like for you to respect the fact that I'm also entitled to have my perception of this. And though our perceptions may be different, we can meet each other on common ground. We don't have to rip each other's heads off right now. We can just hear each other out. And if we disagree, that's okay. Because I don't want to diminish the way you feel, nor do I want to be diminished in the expression of my feelings. And both of us are healing. Neither of us is perfect. And so how both of us feel is valid, even though we might not agree. it's still valid because it's your emotion and my emotion. Boom, right there, love bomb. Not the terrible toxic kind. I mean, like, just a huge love bolt, comes in, and you could potentially become closer to that person. So the way that we respond teaches us to be deliberate creators of harmonious relationships. Okay? Now, the next huge lesson with this full moon energy is the ability to be grateful and surrender negative judgment. So we just deal with justification. Now we're dealing with being judgmental. What I notice is being judgmental towards myself or anybody else, it erases any possible gratitude that I could feel in that moment. Because if I'm judging somebody or judging myself, that's the opposite of being grateful. I'm saying, this is wrong, I'm bad, you're bad, and that's it. This is just all bad. Nothing in this world is just one thing. This is a multidimensional world. So I have been hoping to figure out why we feel the need to be judgmental. And I believe it goes right back to wanting to be right. Because society has trained us to believe being right is the only thing that matters. Being right is the only way to get an A and pass a test. Being right is the only way to get a degree. Being right is the only way to get into heaven. Being right, just so much of that. The world of duality is going away. And for those who intend to exist on a new earth, we're being challenged to release the old earth way of being, which is being judgmental. We have used that as a form of protection. Let me give you an example. If you are afraid to open up and be vulnerable because you have trust issues, and it doesn't matter who you're dealing with and what's going on, let's just say this is just you, we focus on you. Instead of admitting that you're closed off because you're afraid to open up, you will judge every little bitty thing that other person does, so that you have a justification to not open up to them. And I can tell you, I'm pretty much an expert at this one. I can judge you in so many different ways because I do it to myself. I beat myself up. So to get away from being judgmental, you want to pause and ask yourself, how can I PRP this, whatever it is I'm observing that I'm judging? Like, what positive reframe pivot could I have to perceive this differently? By asking that question, it opens up a new narrative. And this pink full moon is helping us to see the other side of the scale, to see the potential of what could be. This is why you have two people, and you can give both people the same cards. Depending on how they play those cards determines the outcome, not what the card is in their hand. By finding something to be grateful for, you diffuse the need to be judgmental. I love examples. Another example would be I used to work out a lot. I probably even consider myself, I was addicted to it. And it was a way that I felt like it was a healthier way to deal with emotions that I didn't want to deal with. And later on, I found out that I kind of was just bypassing emotions. So even though I was working out and I was kind of working it through, I didn't learn how to work through those emotions, right? And so I didn't have the tools to create healthy communication. Well, fast forward 10 years, I can't work out as much as I used to. I could perceive that as a negative thing and judge myself for that, and I could say, you used to walk 4 miles easily. Look how long it take you to do 4 miles now. Like, you suck. You lazy. You know you can do better. You just ain't doing better because you lazy. That's just what it is. You just lazy. You always making excuses. All of these judgmental thoughts in my mind. By PRPing the situation, and I'm going to reframe it different. And I just sit and think. This is the creativity, the imagination, which is powered by our sacral chakra, the energy center that helps us to be creative. And so I think that may be somewhat true. However, I have learned how to sit with my uncomfortable emotions now. And I don't have to go and work out until I pass out. Now I know how to be with myself. And because I'm learning how to be with dense emotions, I'm also better with dealing with other people who may be in their heavier emotions as well. Right there, I have a reason to be grateful. Gangster gratitude is surrendering negative judgments of what is to perceive the wisdom that situation is opening your eyes to see. Now, this is surrendering with trust that you are being spiritually guided to become an awakened version of yourself, no longer dependent on your coping mechanisms developed in childhood trauma to navigate your life. The ability to be grateful for trauma while we are in the midst of chaos in this world, if that ain't gangster, going against the grain, a sacred rebellion, I don't know what is. You're breaking all types of 3D laws. Like, what? Really? So that brings me to the next transmission with this full moon in Libra. Choose compassion over criticism. Choose compassion over criticism. Okay? Anytime something is happening and you are noticing a tendency to be critical, just choose compassion. And I know I'm making it sound easy. And it's not. I'm not going to front with you. It ain't easy. But it's doable. Right? And so as you practice being more compassionate and less critical, you're softening. And that's the feminine energy. Pink symbolically represents feminine energy. Right? And so you're softening. You're learning to be more loving. And the practice is with yourself. And if you have a lot of critical thoughts and you tend to worry and ruminate and have catastrophic thinking, I'm finna PRP you right quick. That is the most fucking amazing thing to have to work with. Because if your mind knows how to lock down and hone in on one thought until you beat that dead horse every which way to find all different angles of judging and criticizing, that also means that you can reverse engineer that and do the exact same thing by finding ways to perceive that situation in a way that actually feels better to you. The way that I teach shadow work in the courses is not by getting rid of something. It's by reverse engineering it. I have a tendency to ruminate and be a worry wart. So I reverse engineer it. I will think about a conversation and all of the things that I should have said and would have said and could have said and how it would have went different. And instead of me doing that and making myself feel bad, I think about, I just learned something from this. Why did I say that? What about that made me feel like it was necessary to say that? And I'm getting to know myself instead of trying to put distance between me and the truth that is being shown to me. So ruminating ain't always a bad thing. Nothing is. This is a multi-dimensional world. And having your third eye more active allows you to perceive situations different than you usually do. One thing that I have learned in my twin flame journey with Ernest is I definitely see how much criticizing hurts relationships. And if we just start off by seeing the person that's criticizing us, whether it's you or somebody else, as someone who has just as much trauma and pain as you do, you will find yourself shifting from feeling judged and criticized to being compassionate. You will find yourself perceiving the anger that's coming up as hurt, as grief, that's inaccessible. For a lot of men, masculine dominant individuals, they don't express hurt and grief because we have been brainwashed to believe that means a man is weak. If he's emotional and dramatic, he acting like a woman. He just being a punk, and he just being weak and a sissy, and don't cry, don't do that. If somebody went through this most of their life, especially during the first 7 to 8 years, when the subconscious mind is programmed because you're a sponge and you're absorbing everything in your environment, it's going to take some time for them to get comfortable expressing emotions differently. And they may not even know that the anger they're expressing is actually coming from a place of pain. Choose compassion over criticism. That is a practice. And it isn't something that you can microwave and rush. It will take time, but I'm telling you, the more you practice it with yourself, the more you can use it with other people as well. And again, this creates a bridge for true vulnerability and closeness to happen. All right. I guess I got one more. Might as well. We're on a roll. I hope y'all enjoying this. Like, if you happen to be listening to me for the first time and you digging this, let me know. Like, I'm new here. I love to meet new people who find me. And if you already been with the tribe for a while, like, make sure that you share something as well, because I'm sure, especially y'all that's working through the course, like, y'all discovering a lot of things about yourself. And like, share, and subscribe, because the more you do that, the more people can find this information as well. And if this is touching you, share it with somebody else by helping me and the algorithm to put me in more recommendations for other people. Let me go ahead and head into the last transmission. And it might be last, but let me tell you, it is not least. The false self. Oh my goodness. Oh. Am I the only one that have enough false self mask? I can pull one out for every conversation that I have in the day and still have mask left over. Woo! Jeez. I created the false self funeral so that you can acknowledge these exiled parts of yourself and the mask that you wear to protect yourself in a respectful and loving way. And no matter how many times I use it, I discover a new mask. And I find that shaming myself for using those masks definitely puts me in a sunken place. So before I get into this information, I want to say it is not my intention to create shame. However, if shame comes up, that's beautiful. Your inner child is allowing you to re-experience a wound so that you can be the healing that you require. All right. Now, for some of us, our false self mask kept us safe and it helped us to cope. That's genius. To be children coming to this very difficult world. And when we came into this world, it was straight 3D. That was pretty much it for most of us. We had to figure out a way to navigate our childhood. So I want you to look at the false mask as a genius tool for you to get to this point. Because if you don't give credit where credit is due, for the many ways your brain created ways to protect itself, you say you continue to pour salt in wounds like shame wounds and guilt, rejection and abandonment, betrayal. And as long as you're doing that to yourself, you're reenacting your trauma over and over again. The things that your heart desire that you know you're worthy of having will seem to elude you because you're not a vibrational match yet. And so there's no shame in that either because it's a process. So here we go. If you have found yourself telling lies so that you can get short-term gratification, that's changing. That's something that's meant to shift. All right? That's something that we are learning how to transcend. Lies may get us what we want in the short term, but in the end, honesty will always lead to what we actually need. A healthy relationship breaks down to one simple thing. Would you rather be honest and people kind of not like you? Or would you rather be loved only because you lie? Flattery and deception can also be sweet. And this is one of the old 3D matrix ways that we have attempted to gain the love and appreciation that we want from people. Most often growing up feeling unseen and unheard, it led to us coping by contorting ourselves to become whatever we had to become to be loved. This often leads to lying about how we really feel. We hide our needs, hoping that we won't be perceived as a burden and people will see us as an asset. Therefore, there's less of chance we'll get rejected and abandoned. Let me give you an example. Someone may ask what you want to eat. And maybe the person that's asking you happens to be health conscious. In fear of being rejected for what you recommend, we probably would respond by saying something like, well, what you want to eat? That depends. What do you want to eat? something as simple as that, and that's happening a lot. Because in the realm of higher consciousness and awakening, it's so much pressure that social media broadcasts for us to feel like we're always not up to par. There's always somebody eating cleaner and better than us. And I'm definitely, I have done this. I've communicated messages as if the way that I eat is the only way to eat, and that's not true. There's something called intuitive eating, and you can eat intuitively what you need for yourself. Your diet lifestyle may not be the same all the time. When we're navigating the world with our false self, we're going to do anything we can to avoid being rejected or looked down on. I posted a picture recently of some vegetables and rainbow trout. The internal reason I did that was to let my inner child know it don't matter what people think. It don't matter that people would say, you still eat fish? Oh my goodness, with all the pollution in the oceans and the heavy metal and this, that, and the other. There was a time where I wouldn't post it, or I'd take the piece of fish off and hide it somewhere and just take a picture of the veggies. And when I did it, I did have thoughts like people go, say something negative, but it was okay for me to have those thoughts. I just observed it. I didn't have to own those thoughts. And my inner child felt heard. She felt seen. You see, rejection sensitivity happens to be one of the characteristics embedded in many of us who experience some form of negligence, abuse, and rejection. And most often, lying is not coming from a place of malice. We lie to keep the peace. However, it's beneficial to consider studying yourself to see the difference between lying to keep peace versus being honest about how we really feel, so that you do not lose your authentic sense of self. You cannot have both. And again, we are being led to make some choices. The funny thing about lying to keep peace is over time, the person you may be lying to, telling them you like their cooking, but you don't, telling them you love the gifts that they buy you, but you don't. And I'm not saying just be hurting people's feelings or telling them the truth. I'm not telling you to call people up and be like, girl, look, the last 5 years, what you bought me for my birthday, I gave it to somebody else. I took it and dropped it off at the Goodwill. I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, we are, like I said, a lot of us are dealing with rejection sensitivity, and it's heightened right now because of some of the things that the planet is going through. But this is just for you to consider. This is you studying and getting to know yourself. But what happens for the person on the other end that we may not be honest with to keep the peace is over time, especially if they're intuitive and empathic, the lies begin to chip away at the trust that you share. And vulnerability cannot happen without honesty. I posted a poll and I asked, what would you like for me to address in the next transmission or the next tarot card reading for the collective? And I'm still watching that poll. It's on the community tab here on YouTube, so you can go and vote on that poll if you haven't already. And vulnerability was one of the things that was mentioned, and I find that to be difficult as well. I literally have to narrate myself into vulnerable moments, and I soothe myself and remind myself it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be transparent. It's okay to be honest. What I'm about to say might be downloaded as something that's negative, or they may feel like I'm criticizing them or whatever. Deep in my heart of hearts, I know that that's not my intention, and I really need to get this out. Because what happens is the other person is noticing you not being fully honest, So they will begin to pull away from you because it don't feel safe to be close to you, because they don't know who you are. They don't know what you really want in life. They don't know what you really care about and love. And that feels unsafe to somebody, you know, who's experienced trauma and you're aware of it and you're working on it. And I think that this is why a lot of relationships have gotten difficult and even ending, because we don't feel safe with each other's truth. When someone steps into their divine masculine energy, they're able to hold space for you to feel safe with whatever truth may be. For a woman, that truth could be, I love you very much, speaking to her partner, I love you very much, but I fantasize pretty often about other people, about sleeping with other people. And it's not because of something you're doing wrong and not because you're not enough. I really don't know why it happens, but it pops in my mind from time to time. Divine masculine energy is going to be like, thank you for sharing that with me. You know, like, I appreciate you sharing a fantasy that pops in your head with me, and I feel closer to you, actually. I feel like I know you more. You expressed something to me that might have been difficult for you to express, and I appreciate that. That divine masculine energy will hold space for that. If we haven't been doing that in our relationships, we all have divine masculine energy. We're being called to practice being a safe space for others to express their truth without judgment. Okay? Now, sometimes our truth does upset our partners. But remember how important it is to be genuine and to nurture the healthy relationship you desire to have. They may or may not hate you for expressing a difficult truth, but you will eventually hate the consequences of being dishonest over time, and not just with them, but with yourself. The consequences often lead us to forgetting who we are and what we need in a relationship. This is codependency at its finest. And I'm also including chapters about codependency in this guidebook, because in my effort to be in a harmonious relationship with myself so that my relationship with others is more balanced, I notice how codependent I get. And I depend on other people's emotional set point to be in what is considered comfortable for me. And when it's not, I'm a mess. That's not what I feel is going to allow me to become this new version of myself. That's going to hold me in that invisible prison cell. So just remember that this is a practice. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's okay. But if you find it difficult to ask for what you want from your partner, remember the value of asserting for your own needs and wants to be met. Your partner might be willing to work towards meeting you halfway, but if you have to lie to be loved, trust and vulnerability will erode away, leaving behind a trail of guilt, shame, and untapped potential. As the saying goes, don't write a check that your ass can't cash. And this full pink moon is teaching us how to make healthier investments so that we aren't writing checks our ass can't cash. We're making deposits, and we're withdrawing and benefiting from those deposits using wisdom, not fear. Namaste. Numiste.